Building with anticipation, the Department of Justice IG report and the FBI's handling of the Hillary Clinton email probe will be made public today. Politicians on both sides of the aisle are bracing for the impact of this report, with the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, giving a preview of what he thinks it will reveal, specifically when it comes to former FBI Director Jim Comey.
I don't know the Horowitz report in detail. I think it's going to be a tough one. It's 500 pages. At a minimum, we know already from the leaks, and you wonder how do these leaks take place, that it's going to criticize him heavily for his first Hillary press conference, for his second Hillary press conference.
And so that goes to the credibility of how he handled the Russia investigation
usurped
in your
the
mind.
Responsibility of the Attorney General. You know that. He became the Attorney General. He's not the Attorney General. He's the Director of the FBI.
Joining us right now is Fox News legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Mercedes Cohen. Mercedes, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. So if laws were broken, what are the next steps in terms of prosecuting individuals? Where does this go?
Well, certainly there's going to be the focus on Comey. We've already heard a lot of leaks out there. There's insubordination, the fact that he came forward and he usurped the powers of the Attorney General when he made those press conferences and said Hillary Clinton will not be prosecuted, even though she was extremely careless with this confidential information. So that's going to be one side. The other side, of course, is about McCabe. McCabe, we know that's already been reported that he had lied to investigators about the leaks to the Wall Street Journal. That can be another recommendation for him to be prosecuted.
You know, there are certain things that we know existed and took place, Mike, because we know that Loretta Lynch told Jim Comey to call the Hillary Clinton email investigation a matter. Correct. Not a criminal investigation, which, of course, it was. And that is exactly what Jim Comey did. We also know that there was a meeting that took place between Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General at the time, and Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton's husband, just a day or two before she was supposed to testify in front of the FBI.
Correct. I mean, it's crazy when you hear it now in context of what actually happened, but I think the best thing for the American people is to get all the facts out in the open and then put it behind us, move forward, make sure that something like this never happens again. Because I think the people just want to know what happened. Right. You can't go back and change it. It should have never happened. But let's get it out there and move on.
There's definitely fatigue. I think a lot of people are just saying, why is this taking so long? Let's get forward. There's been a lot of criticism by the president and how long Horowitz has been taking to complete the investigation and set forth this report. So there's definitely fatigue surrounding it.
So we saw criminal charges recommended in the last IG report for Andrew McCabe. Are you expecting that we will see criminal charges recommended for Jim Comey in this report?
Not necessarily. It really depends. What we hear a lot of what's being reported is insubordination. How he was insubordinate during the investigation. The fact that he ignored the Justice Department official who came forward. At least there's one official that came forward and said, do not go forward and write this letter to Congress that the investigation is being reopened because of Congressman's laptop with Huma Abedin. Well, do not go forward, and he went forward anyway. He put out that letter and the investigation.
And it was that decision that alienated him, not just from the Republicans, but the Democrats as well.
Exactly, because they feel that that's why Hillary Clinton lost the election.
Right.
And it's a Hollywood script that unfolded in front of our eyes in real life. So it'd be great to see what really happened there.
It really will. And already we've seen so many texts of bias, like from Peter Strzok and all that. But whether or not that bias came out in a material way that tipped the scales is really what we're going to learn from this IG report. There's a new poll out this morning from Politico, the Politico Morning Consult. It shows 36% of voters view special counsel Robert Mueller unfavorably versus a 32% favorable view. Mercedes, why do you think this is?
A lot of it is just because it's just taking so long. I mean, it's extremely expensive. We know that. It's obviously
tens of millions of dollars.
Tens of millions of dollars. And we're still not. And there's been reports recently where Mueller said, I'm just really in the tip of the iceberg. I'm just digging deeper. So how long is this investigation going to take place? People are tired of it. They want conclusion. They want finality. They want to know what's going to happen.
And first they told us that the Robert Mueller investigation was about collusion. There was no evidence of collusion, so that's not even existing. Then they said that it was perhaps obstruction of justice. We don't have evidence of that. Then he started trying to get paperwork from Stormy Daniels. And so we don't know what this has gone all over the place.
And not only that, but then it's extended out to other people and charges against other people who are involved or on the peripheral of everything that's going on. So I think there's no reason for it to continue, because it really could continue indefinitely if he wanted it to.
Exactly. Now, there are these reports this morning that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein threatened to subpoena records, emails from lawmakers and lawmakers' staff to the House Intelligence Committee. The leader of that committee, Devin Nunes, responding on Fox News last night. Listen to this.
We've had many, what I would say, altercations with the Deputy Attorney General and his staff. What I think is inappropriate, I'm fine. I can take the heat. You can attack me all you want. I'm used to it. I enjoy it. However, when it comes to attacking staff and when staff feel uncomfortable, that's when you've gone too far.
What about that, Mercedes? I mean, up until now, it's the AG and the Department of Justice that's sort of on the hot seat to give up these documents to the Congress. And now he's saying, I'll get those documents from you.
And subpoena them. Well, certainly they're threatening. There are going to be folks that are going to come forward and say, there's abuse of power here. This is not the way to do this. If you want these types of documents, there's a civility, there's a formality. You can go to court to get these documents. But the way that it's being handled, it could be criticized as an abuse of power.
And that's why they're saying he threatened.
Yes,
that's the abuse that you're talking about.
Exactly right.
And why haven't we gotten the documents that Devin Nunes has been asking for in terms of what evidence they used to launch an investigation into Donald Trump? That's what Devin Nunes has been trying to get to the bottom of, Mike, because he came in the show and he told us flat out, I did the due diligence and there was no intelligence used to launch an investigation into collusion. So
And I think that's what is really frustrating the American public, is that this seems like it's one side against another. Yeah. It's just kind of nitpicking back and forth, when it really, there should be one way to do this, one uniform way, whether it's coming from one side, the right or the left. It should, one law should apply to everybody. It's not working that way.
You would think that everybody should be on the same side here.
Sure. Yes, exactly.
Nobody wants an abuse of power.
Right.
Give up the documents. Show us how this investigation was handled.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, let me switch gears to ask you about Apple, because Apple is closing a technology loophole, making it harder for law enforcement agencies to unlock iPhones. What type of effect is this going to have on investigations? This reminds me of a couple years ago when we were trying to understand why Apple would not open a phone after a major shooting.
San Bernardino.
San Bernardino, exactly right.
I mean, a lot of folks are really torn with this. I mean, you talk about rights of privacy. A lot of people come forward and say, no, this is my phone, my privacy. We don't want to be infringed upon. But when you talk about a criminal investigation, don't you want the truth to be known? Don't you want whoever is responsible for the crime to be called to justice? That's where the rub is, between privacy and actually going forward and criminally prosecuting someone who is responsible for the crime.
What do you think about this? I go back and forth on this. I want my privacy. But then again, when you're talking about a shooting, I want to know what's in that phone.
Or a shooting, or a matter of U.S. Safety.
National security. Exactly right.
I go back and forth with it, too, because if you remember, Tim Cook at the time was saying, if we can let anybody into your phone, then anybody else can get in as well. If there's a way to get in, the hackers will find a way in. So I would think with all of the, we run a venture capital fund, with all of the technology we're seeing, all the advances we're seeing across our entire lives, I think there should be a better way to do this, where you're still safe and private, but if the government needs access to something to protect other people, they should be able to get it.
That's provided that you trust the government.
Right.
Exactly.
Or go to the court. Yes. Go to the judges and say, here's my phone. If there's any criminality, take a look at it. They can do it in camera. It doesn't have to be known publicly.
You would think we could get this done.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mercedes, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much.
Great to see you. Mercedes Colway joining us.